right? Is it recorded?
Oh, there we go.
So reverse engineering to where I am today, I'm an entrepreneur now, and I'm a mom of four girls from 22, 18, 10, and 7.
Mhm.
So I always wanted to be a mom. And since I had my first daughter, I also wanted to be an entrepreneur because when I had her, I was 19 years old and I was pregnant during 9/11. I was in New York City where I grew up, and it was very traumatic for me. Not only the experience of like seeing what happened, but also this
Mhm.
idea in normal society that now I'm supposed to like relinquish my baby to a stranger and like leave her with somebody for 50 hours a week so I can go make a little bit of money. It was against everything my instincts told me to do. So
Mhm.
I did try at that point and to have my own business. Like I tried to open a daycare at that age, but I
Mhm.
just didn't have the resources or the mentorship or the knowledge to do it. And so it didn't work, but I stayed home with her as long as I could, which was about a year and a half. And then
Mhm.
you gotta go to work. And
Mhm.
unfortunately or not, my ex-husband was not a provider financially, so I was the one
Mhm.
who I have to go to work. And but I continued through school, got my bachelor's, and by the time I graduated with my bachelor's, I was having my second daughter. So then I tried again. I'm like, now I got two, and I really don't want to leave two of them with strangers. And I tried again, and I tried my hand at life insurance. So here I am, 22 years old, with my little suit on in the street, talking to strangers on 42nd Street and trying to sell life insurance. It
That
was
sounds
cute.
exciting.
It was cute. And it was pre-Google Maps and
Oh.
pre-internet. So this is a different time period, right? But I guess I was fearless. And I was like, very like, I'm doing this for my kids, especially because I had just done this whole degree program. And at the time, I was working at a law firm as a receptionist. So in my mind, I was thinking, at least when I graduate, maybe they'll give me a better position. Maybe I can be a paralegal so I can make more money and not just sit at the desk and answer phones. But
Mhm.
that's not how it works. They don't see you from reception into in the law field. They're just like you stay at the desk and you know. So I tried it then and I lasted about a year
Mhm.
where I ended up owing the insurance company money myself, on my
The
own policies,
chargebacks.
that's chargebacks, all of that.
Oh.
So then I was kind of in crisis mode, trying to figure out what next, like what I was walking outside one day, crying with my two little ones and my ex-husband, thinking, what am I supposed to do with my life? Still, mind you, he did not work. So I don't know. He wasn't trying to figure it out. I was trying to figure it out.
Mm.
And ironically, how synchronicity works, we went into this fish market near where we lived, and the principal from my old high school was there. Well, I had not seen this guy since I graduated from high school, but there he was, and he's like, "What are you doing with your life these days?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. I'm trying to figure it
Literally.
out." He said, well, you should come teach at the school. We need more of you guys to come back and like to teach the next generation. You know what the mission is, you know how we operate. Come teach. And I was like, me be a teacher? Absolutely not. First of all, I don't like waking up in the morning. I don't particularly like people's children. I never see myself as a teacher. And I had prior to that, I had already applied for like a teaching fellows program. And I told him I didn't get accepted. I don't think it's for me.
Mhm.
He said, no, even if you don't get accepted, just do it again. I'll call somebody, just do the application. I'll get you in there. Don't worry. And I went home that day and it was the last day to apply for the Teach for America program. It was literally like that was the cutoff. So I stayed up that day, did the whole application, essay and
Mhm.
everything, and that's how I became a teacher. So that, like, even though I didn't plan it like that, I was like, this is cool because it's kind of like a compromise, right? Like, I don't want to have a boss and have a job and somebody telling me what to do, but it's teaching. Like, I could do that. I'm academic, I'm a learner. And and at least when my kids are not in school, I get to be with them too, right? So I kind of settled for it because it was a stable job that I thought people respected, you know, as a real profession. But the reality is that I was there for 15 years. I realized that it's not a respected profession. Like people don't necessarily appreciate teachers, and even the system itself doesn't treat you as a professional, even though, you know, you get a master's degree and all of that. The workload is unrealistic. You
Mhm.
don't actually have time to ever finish your job. You want to be of service to these children, but you know, in my experience, I taught 7th through 12th grade language arts. That means that every year you have 5 classes of about 30, 34 kids per class. It's
Mhm.
not, it's okay. It's not even humanly possible to literally like design lessons, grade essays, communicate with parents on a daily basis, not to mention that there's no support in the physical classroom either. Like I'm also the person who has to like clean the desks and clean the board and organize the materials.
Mhm.
So and then I have my own family, right?
Mhm.
So it was basically a very draining experience, especially working for the public schools of New York City, which that's a whole topic entirely. So anyway, throughout the years, I found myself really not happy, like really trying to figure out like, why am I here? Like almost having an outer body experience on a regular basis of like looking around, like, why is everybody acting like this is normal? Not only am I not happy, the kids are not happy. They're almost in prison right now. Like they don't even have recess. They're fixed in these seats and they're treated like numbers, not people. Nobody really is emotionally aware or tuned to one another. There's a very kind of blatant lack of empathy, even though it's supposed to be like we're supposed to care about each
Mhm.
other. It's but long story short, I hated it and I wanted to get out, but I had no exit strategy because I live in New York with four daughters. Like life is expensive, and this is the only experience that I've had. So, but just like how I got into teaching, which was not my plan, it wasn't like I thought about it. It was God. God said, "Here's what you do next," literally. So, the
Mhm.
same way, this is how I became a homeschooling mom, and this is how I came back into my third attempt at entrepreneurship because in 2019, New York State revoked the religious exemption to vaccines. And what that meant was that my children were no longer able to go to school. So just suddenly, from the end of one school year to the beginning of the next, suddenly we're like, all right, all the kids have to stay home now. So now it's even more obvious that I'm maxing out this chapter of my life, right? Like I
Mhm.
can't stay in this environment because physically, even now my children are home and I'm leaving them to go travel down into the city and teach other people's kids or babysit other people's kids, however you want to look
Mhm.
at it. So that beginning of that school year was tough, right? 2019 from September, and then 2020 March came, and everybody knows what happened then, right? So
Mhm.
we all went remote, and I remember that Friday thinking like, yes, I don't know what's happening, but I don't freaking care because I don't gotta come back on Monday. I hope this lasts for a long time. And it turns out I never went back actually because I taught remote for that last year, but what happened was me being physically at home. I was in the right place now. I'm like, okay, we're here. We're all home now. I'm with my children. I'm doing the things that I love, like spending time and pouring into my kids. But I'm
Mhm.
also still like shackled to this computer, fake teaching, right? Because that year, everything that's wrong with the school system for me got even louder, right? Meaning that the kids didn't even turn their cameras on. There were some students who I never saw their face, I never heard their voice. And that
Mhm.
year I taught eighth grade, which the expectations are a bit different, meaning that those kids know they don't have to do anything and they still get promoted at the end of the year, which I didn't know because I had taught ninth grade and there's more of an expectation in the high school that you actually have to earn the credit.
Mhm.
Eighth grade, you don't have to earn a credit. You just on the roster and at the end of the year you get promoted. And this is how I found out because at the end of the year when I'm thinking like, well, these students, they never submitted any work, they never showed their faces, never did anything. So I'm thinking you give them the grade that's appropriate, right? They haven't met the standards.
All right.
And what I was told is that in order for you to fail a student, you have to compile a portfolio and to show why they didn't meet the standards, all the efforts that you tried, like show examples of their work, which is literally impossible. How am I supposed to show examples of their work and they never submitted any? I don't even know this person. But basically, they were like, wink, wink, you can't fail them. Just put the passing grade and like move on with your
Mhm.
life. And that was the last year that I taught. But during that year, I got written up for wasting instructional time on the Zoom because I had an administrator come observe, and she's like, mind you, this is Zoom, right? So you got all the little boxes. Nobody really knows what's happening. You're talking and
Mhm.
nobody's responding. But I had an administrator come observe one day, and the follow up meeting was your lesson plan said that the do now was supposed to be 5 minutes, but I clocked it and you actually left out on the screen for about 8 minutes. That is a waste of instructional time. And she wrote me up as unsatisfactory. And I was like, why am I here? Like, what is this? This whole thing is just an insult to not only me and my experience as a professional, but
Right.
everybody. So I never went back in. And God also helped me with that because I was a city employee. And in New York City, it was the same. You take the shot or you get the boot after COVID. And I took that as my
Mhm.
cue to say, oh, I guess that chapter's closed now. But I had already started to build my business the year before because I already knew. I already knew
Mhm.
what was coming if you just read the writing on the wall, right?
Mhm.
So I started my agency in financial services in 2021. So I'm back in the field of educating people about things like insurance, types of insurance and uses of it, investments, how to build and protect wealth, and how to
Mm,
have the paperwork necessary to help our families. And it's perfect. It's perfect because my who I'm helping is other moms, especially other mom entrepreneurs. Because what I find is that just like I did, we come into entrepreneurship with the intent to create more flexibility, right? We want more freedom, we want more time, we want more options to lead our
mhm,
families the way we want. But what ends up happening is that we have this hustle culture, this superwoman thing that we do, and now we're like, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm taking care of the kids, I'm
Zooming.
marketing, I'm zooming, I'm doing all the stuff, right?
Right.
But the money is not matching the effort. Like the whole financial situation does not match the effort that women are putting in. And it's
Mhm,
because, not because they don't know what they're doing in their specific field. Like you could be great at whatever that technical skill is, but if we don't learn entrepreneurship as its own skill, right? It doesn't matter. If we don't have the communication and the marketing skills necessary to actually manage our businesses, not just like do the hair or cook the food or whatever it is that you're doing, that's why we're suffering. So we need systems. And as I learned these systems for myself and got the coaching that would help me to reach audiences and help them with their finances, I'm like, other women need to learn this stuff too about how do we actually build a business, a successful business, and that's what I do now. So it's like the foundation of my business is to help families to build and preserve wealth. But the front door of the business is helping other moms to make more money because I can't help you do anything with the money if you ain't making them. So it's that the front door is like how let me sit with women and find out what they're actually struggling with, and what it is they're tired of this constantly changing. How do I market on social media? What is this algorithm? Like, do I supposed to pay for a business coach? I already paid for coaching and it didn't change anything for me. So what they're struggling with, I'm able to help, not because I'm a business coach. I'm definitely not, but I'm just a conduit so that I can introduce them to different people who are experts at things like marketing. So just pre-filtering and being able to connect people through networking to solutions so that they can make more money, so that they can have the lives that they envision for their families. That's what it's all about.
wow. That every time I hear a story, I'm just like you said, you feel like you're in the right place at the right time because when I first started capturing these stories, I was thinking back about what inspired me when I was in my early 20s and I moved to the United States and I didn't really know a lot about entrepreneurship the way it's done here in America.
Mhm.
Where I came from, we didn't have credit cards and all that stuff. It's like everybody was an entrepreneur. You know, you pop your trunk after school or you take like candies in your bag and you sell those and you
Right,
got movies this weekend. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So it
right,
wasn't like, let's see how much money we can borrow and then
yeah,
I will figure out the rest.
right,
So entrepreneurship here, I mean, and again too, like my family, everyone has like a degree of some sort, right? That's like the standard. So if you're not gonna become like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that,
hmm,
it's like you're not really
right,
educated or business savvy. That view
right,
has changed too.
yeah.
So looking back, not knowing I was setting myself up to be where I am here today with the moms. I think I shared with you too, I was told I couldn't have kids. Now I have two wonderful kids because I turned 40 and fertile. But it just looking back, I was thinking like what inspired me when I was a young entrepreneur and I had reached the point where I didn't really hate my job, but I was working like over 80 hours a week and I had a lot of money. And because a lot of my family was back home, I missed a lot of events.
Mm,
Um, and it was like I was more concerned about paying my bills. And then I think like if I work really hard for the first half of the year, maybe I could take 2 weeks off. And I did do that, but I felt really unfulfilled. And I remember there was this magazine of entrepreneurs, and I would always look at this magazine. And then someone introduced me to like network marketing, and
mm,
I went to a convention. And I
right,
saw like people who were like my age in their 20s making money that didn't have degrees. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I missed something here
yeah,
because um I gotta find out what's going on. And then the more I looked through that magazine and heard like entrepreneur stories, that's what got me into creating Mompreneur Source,
mhm,
right? It's like entrepreneur source.
mhm,
And every time I hear stories, I'm just like, wow, someone's gonna hear this story someday and be like, that was me, Fortunately, my husband does support me and the kids, and I hope I never have those stories. But I also um I'm aware of because I work night shift trauma too. I remember kids
Mm,
who came in as trauma patients, and I'm looking at these little babies, and my heart's just broken because their mom came in from a car crash or something, and the mom's passed away, and here's
wow.
this little baby. You know, we go through life and events, and we don't realize how interconnected all of these experiences eventually become when we start to like share with other people things that we go through. And it's
Yeah.
just tough times. When we are able to get through it, we can overcome. And thank you for sharing your story, because some mom in this community is going to really appreciate it.